Hi, welcome to Loft 1. My name is Diego, and today I'm talking about The Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim, released on December 13th, 2024. Directed by Kenji Kamiyama, it is the first anime-styled adventure in the world of J.R.R. Tolkien. This narrative is set 183 years before the events of The Hobbit and sheds light on legendary King Helm Hammerhand and his daughter Hera after Wulf, a vengeful Dunlending lord, seeks retribution for his father's death. Now, before I hop into my review, if you want to support the channel, then please take a second to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. Thank you, I really appreciate it. As a warning, this review will contain some major spoilers, so please continue at your own risk. Lastly, if there's anything you want to see reviewed, don't forget to let me know by leaving a comment and I will do my best to get to it. Thank you, I'm hopping in 3, 2, 1. For starters, I want to lay out all my biases and where I'm coming from as a viewer because you might relate. I've only ever read The Hobbit, and that was over 10 years ago, back when I was in junior high. I never read The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, The Return of the King, or The Silmarillion. They're on my list, but I also have a couple dozen books ahead of them, so it'll be a while before I get to them. My true experiences with The Lord of the Rings come from when I was a kid watching the Peter Jackson film trilogy. I hands down think it is the best trilogy that will ever be made, and nothing will ever top it. All Star Wars trilogies, Back to the Future, The Godfather, Indiana Jones, The Dark Knight, Pirates of the Caribbean, The Hobbit, none of them can capture what Peter Jackson captured with The Lord of the Rings. I can rant on and on about why these are the most perfect movies ever made, but I will save that for another video. In terms of animated Lord of the Rings media, I've only ever seen the 1977 version of The Hobbit, directed by Jules Bass and Arthur Rankin Jr. I adored that movie as a kid, and I've rewatched it several times in my adult life. Glenn Yarborough's The Greatest Adventure physically makes me yearn to do more in my life and keep exploring new hobbies. That said, I would love to watch the 1978 The Lord of the Rings. It looks just as charming as the 77 Hobbit. In my teens, I played Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War. I thought both of these games were incredible. I get to play as a ranger-like character and massacre orcs to get revenge for my dead family. I couldn't ask for a better setup. I'm aware these games contradict a lot of established lore with Shelob, Celebrimbor, and even Helm Hammerhand, but I'm okay with that. The story in these games was great, and I think a lot of people didn't appreciate it, which is why we ended up with a game like Gollum. When I heard the premise of the Gollum game, I was in disbelief. It sounded like the most boring, worst idea ever. Why would I want to crawl around Middle-earth when I already got to run and ride through it with Talion? Embracer made a stupid decision greenlighting this game and should have gone back to the drawing board. There were already so many franchise games they could have taken inspiration from, like Conquest. Lastly, I want to talk about the Rings of Power. I currently think it's the worst portrayal of the Lord of the Rings. I've only seen season 1, I haven't seen season 2, so I can't quite talk on it, and this might be shocking, but overall, I enjoyed my time with Rings of Power. There were things I liked about the show, and there were things I thought sucked, like Galadriel. I don't think you should have the creative liberty to switch things up in the lore unless you're telling an amazing story. My biggest complaint with the show is that it had the potential to be the greatest show of all time if it weren't for the corporate decisions on the characters, themes, and narratives. Alright, I've laid out my biases and what I think about different Lord of the Rings media. I love the Lord of the Rings, but I'm also not the most diehard fan, and Lord knows there's so much lore I don't know about. Case in point, The War of the Rohirrim. I didn't know anything about Helm Hammerhand and this story. This is all brand new to me, which excites me. In a nutshell, King Helm Hammerhand accidentally kills Freka when Freka's son Wulf proposes to his daughter Hera. Wulf swears vengeance and he brings it, forcing the Rohirrim to retreat to the Hornburg, later known as Helm's Deep. Hera is the only one left to guide the people through a harsh winter siege. There are things I love about this narrative and there are things I don't. I love that this is a story for the people of Rohan. I love Rohan significantly more than Gondor. It's so Skyrim-like to me. I love the Norse and Anglo-Saxon influences with the architecture and the values of the people. The Rohirrim are deeply rooted in values of courage, loyalty, and camaraderie. They're a much smaller nation than the colder and stricter Gondor, and I love the underdog spirit. Despite all odds, they put up a hell of a fight wherever they are. I think War of the Rohirrim captures these qualities really well. Whether it's the detailed animation capturing the beautiful wooden carvings on the buildings of Edoras or the tough warlike spirit of Helm and his people, I thought this movie felt like it was a story of Rohan and the Lord of the Rings. Speaking of Helm, I think he was severely underutilized in this film. His daughter Hera is the main character, and we see the story largely told from her point of view. She's the character we follow around instead of Helm. I'm okay with that, but I would have loved for this story to be told from Helm's point of view or from one of his son's point of views, because they were the characters that truly embodied the badass of the Rohirrim. They fought to protect their kingdom and their voice actors were fantastic. Brian Cox blew me away as Helm. I was ready to steal a horse and join him against Wulf. Honestly, his character was so cool and I'm disappointed they didn't tap more into his potential. That said, I still liked Hera's character. In many ways, she's like Eowyn. She's a princess who becomes a shield maiden of Rohan. I think there are a lot of narrative parallels from The Two Towers. The Two Towers was my favorite Peter Jackson film, so the familiarity makes me happy. Hera is a beautiful princess with tomboy-like qualities. She's a great horse rider, can expertly swing a blade, and is athletic. She's also very good with animals and very, very resourceful. When an Oliphant attacks her in Freyaloft, she leads it away to its demise by the Watcher in the water. Hera is a good character, but she's not a great or amazing character that we can root for. She doesn't really struggle with anything, which makes it hard to root for her. From the start of the film, she's already better at everything than all the other characters. Just before Helm dies, he tells Hera the people of Rohan need her to lead them. It's a shallow female empowerment theme that weakly props her character up and honestly makes me want to root for Wulf. I think Wulf is the underdog in this movie. I largely sided with him because he was mistreated by Rohan. His proposal to Hera would have united the people of Rohan and he genuinely cared for her at the start of the film. Instead, we get another strange female empowerment line like I will marry no man. This feels silly because it's her entire role as the princess to keep her people safe. The best way for her to do that is to marry and keep the peace. It's definitely a crappy situation, but you're supposed to lead your people and keep them safe through strong alliances. I really started rooting for Wulf when I saw how he was banished from Rohan and how even when he raised an army to fight Helm, everyone underestimated him. Everyone assumed they'd wipe the floor with Wulf, but he dominated them instead. He was much more strategic than the good guys. He's a very single-minded leader, only focused on making Helm and Hera suffer, and I respect that. With the Winter Siege, he loses many of his resources and men, but he doesn't care. He wants to see Hera suffer the way he suffered. I'll be honest, prior to the siege, he killed it. Literally. He killed her brothers and eventually her father. The ending does get a little goofy because he does die to Hera, who is a better sword fighter. Speaking of goofy, there are some silly plot armor moments scattered throughout the film. There's a moment when Hera and her shield maiden Olwen jump several dozen feet from a ledge and aren't injured. Hera also kills an ice troll with a spear to save Helm. I don't know, for the most part the story was solid and it followed familiar beats that I liked, but I can also recognize that the narrative had some flaws. Oh, I almost forgot to mention it, but there are some fan servicey moments in the film. Saruman makes an appearance with the late Christopher Lee's voice used from pre-recordings. Orcs search for rings to bring to Mordor. Gandalf is also mentioned at the end of the film. I enjoyed a lot of the fan service and I don't think it detracted from the story. Moving on, I enjoyed the soundtrack. The score is not a one-for-one of the Peter Jackson trilogy. However, it does incorporate themes from Howard Shore's original compositions. I love this because it felt nostalgic and reinforced the film's connection to Middle-earth. I didn't need or want a brand new score. I wanted something that felt like The Lord of the Rings, and that's what I got, so I was very, very happy with it. The last thing I want to talk about is the animation. I love anime. My favorites are Dragon Ball, Berserk, and Black Clover. I think anime, and even just animation in general, are severely slept on by a lot of people. Some of the best story experiences I've had are from animation, and they couldn't be told any other way. The animation in this movie is very detailed and beautiful, and I loved how vibrant yet vintage things look. I love the sprawling landscapes and character designs. I respect director Kamiyama for giving us an authentic portrayal of Middle-earth. Nobody in this movie looks out of place. The Rohirrim, the Dunlendings, the Haradrim, the Eagles, the Orcs, the Watcher, and even the Snow Troll. They all looked the part and made this film truly feel like a part of Tolkien's universe. Now, there are moments where the frame rates drop and things like horses galloping look a little choppy, but that doesn't really bother me. I'm just ecstatic that we got an anime-styled version of The Lord of the Rings, and I hope we continue to get more adaptations and spin-offs. The Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim offers an immersive and visually captivating journey into the rich lore of Middle-earth, but it comes with its share of strengths and shortcomings. The story of King Helm Hammerhand and Hera delivers an engaging narrative that highlights the resilience and spirit of the Rohirrim, even if certain character arcs and empowerment themes feel underdeveloped or contrived. Though occasionally hindered by frame rate issues, the animation beautifully captures the Norse-inspired world of Rohan, blending familiar aesthetics with vibrant anime stylings. The score, infused with motifs from Howard Shore's original compositions, evokes the nostalgia of Peter Jackson's trilogy while cementing its place in Tolkien's universe. Despite its flaws, like shallow character struggles and predictable beats, the film succeeds in creating an entertaining and exciting addition to the Middle-earth saga. Whether you're a die-hard fan or a casual admirer of The Lord of the Rings, this film is visually rich and a nostalgic homage to the legacy of Rohan, reminding us of the enduring power of courage, loyalty, and determination in the face of overwhelming odds. The War of the Rohirrim is a movie I really enjoyed and feel happy recommending. Thank you for listening to my review of The The Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim. If you enjoyed the content, leave a like and hit subscribe. If you did not enjoy the content, thank you for sticking around. As always, I would love to read what you have to say, so leave a comment and let me know what you're thinking. Also, if there's something you want to see reviewed, don't forget to let me know and I will do my best to get to it. Lastly, if you want to see some more from me, then you can check out my vlogs linked up above or my podcast, Good Friends. Again, thank you for watching. My name is Diego and I will see you next time.